Hello, I'm Dr. Michelle Kraft, Professor of Art at Lubbock Christian University, and I'm here today with John McKaughan, who served as the art director for Braniff Airlines from the 1950s until the airline ceased operations in 1982. During that time, Alexander Calder was enlisted by Braniff Airlines to help them with their Flying Colors campaign, in which he painted several aircraft for the airline. We're here today to talk to John McKaughan about his relationship with Alexander Calder and to take a look at some of the works that he has, sketches and drawings by the artist during this time that they worked together for Braniff Airlines. John, tell me about the first time you met Alexander Calder.
Well, I suppose it was after the introduction by George Gordon of Gordon Short, of Agency of New York, who had arranged for the idea of a painted plane by an international artist. And it was exciting, but considering our busy schedule, it was just another promotion. And then we arranged to travel to France and visit his studio. And I thought, from this studio, nothing can possibly come. It is so disarranged. But come to find, he was so organized, he knew the turn of a piece of wire in the studio. Several months later, he actually finalized on about 6 aircraft, and we accepted, I think, 4 for the first promotion of South America. We decided that the initial paint job would be a work of art. Made a fabulous arrangement with the national news organizations and arranged for a showing at the Four Seasons restaurant in New York City. We opened the Four Seasons lunch with a presentation of Calder aircraft proposal, which we had not even settled on in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We took it and ran and became one of the most successful airline presentations ever, especially in South America. Just astounded us at that much coverage, media coverage, for such a simple idea.
Why do you think the idea was so compelling to people?
At least 10 to 15,000 on every approach viewed the aircraft. That's more than a week's museum travel. So it was very successful to us as promotion.
So you unveiled this project at the Four Seasons in New York.
Oh yeah.
And Alexander Calder is very famous for his stay bills and his mobiles, and now here he is painting on his airplanes.
That's true, and we were so pleased with him. We had no earthly idea it was nothing more than an exterior paint job of an aircraft, but it turned out to be a work of art. So famous that it became national news, international media news, and the locals loved it.
And you've got a photograph of, is that the display from the Four Seasons?
This is the Four Seasons display, and it was an installation itself. It was so uncommon for this gallery, Pearl's Gallery of New York, to do this installation. They had never handled anything like this in a publicity fashion. This is the aircraft as it settled in out of the 4 sent to Braniff to choose. This side being perfectly complete. We'd already set up our literature for this side of the aircraft. So this was this was our choice.
Okay, so after the Flying Colors of South America, the next plane was the Flying Colors of North America?
Following that great success, turned to what we considered the Bicentennial of the United States. And that turned out to be one of the biggest headaches in the 29 years I worked. We decided we would have a Calder painted plane that represented the United States.
I understand that early on in the process, you came up with an original Alexander Calder mistake. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
He came up with this piece of work for one of the ads that they had been talking to him about. He kept assuming that his use of America was United States. And we said no, we wanted a bicentennial for the United States only, because he was accustomed to saying America, even when it was meant United States. We had always tried to use some of his handwork. He was a professional at layout and insisted on doing subtitling.
When you opened the flying colors of the United States aircraft and you displayed it for the first time, tell me about that opening.
In New York City, we took over the Plaza Hotel. We had been so successful with our South American edition and outstanding publicity that we decided we would make a big show. We finally got Calder to write the ad promo intro correctly. And we decided we would not put any ads whatsoever in the hotel. We put this poster in every hallway, every entryway, entered every doorway of major shops. We also turned the dining room and the conference rooms into display rooms.
You had some huge exhibition spaces all in the Plaza Hotel?
It was like we turned the hotel into a gallery without them knowing it.
So this right here represents, it's a grouping that represents a process, a creative process.
Yeah.
So he started off by painting this one right here.
Yeah.
And both of your names appear in this one. Tell me about that.
This was at the end. This was like a year later. We decided to do a poster, and he did the people and the red star up here.
And both of your names appear in this one right here.
Yes.
It says John plus Sandy.
He took the original board in New York, and while we were doing other things, he went off and went snickered. Ended up painting yellow. I knew he was painting with yellow. I didn't know what he was doing. And turned around and he had changed the whole thing and destroyed the original sketch. It's a physical study of what he thought of me. This is something that he had thought of ahead of time and had designed with the yellow, meaning he had to get yellow paint from his cupboard to do yellow and black to finish this in the way he wanted it.
So over the years, as you worked alongside Calder to create these works, you traveled to New York, you traveled to a studio in France. Can you talk a little bit about just that friendship that developed between the two of you as you worked on this together?
Well, we developed such a friendship that one of the times, I don't know why we worked in the small studio at one of my visits, and I kept hitting my head and busting my head open. He said, I can fix that. So he went to his cupboard again and found one of his handmade hats. And he was very precious of these because he had brought them from Connecticut and from the States, from America. And so he had brought one of them over. He said, "That you look good in that." And I said, I need this. And it was his multi-years affair where he decided he put John from Sandy, because I said, "I can't take this because your wife won't let me out of the studio with this." And he said, "Yes, she will." So he wrote the endorsement over to me. She still resents my having fooled him. I wore a cowboy hat from Texas, a black cowboy hat from Texas that trip, and he wanted that hat for his grandson. And he was not going to let me leave without this hat, because he wanted my hat.
So you two worked a hat trade.
We were hat trade that day, and she could say not much about it. The Association of the Paris Air Show asked a commercial aircraft, which was unheard of, to come to the Paris Air Show. It was usually for fighters, etc., but never a commercial aircraft of any sort. So it arrived with big fanfare to Paris. Calder came up from his studio from Sachet to Paris, a 100-mile drive, and decided to do a commercial study for them on the exterior of one of the engines. And he got more publicity there in Paris than he would have if it had been in a major museum, because he was at the air show with the commercial cameras all day long painting the side of the aircraft, and we turned it into another promotional poster for South America.
Very good. Now, was the wine bottle part of the original design or added later?
I had to give him back one of those because he had done it there, but by the time I got back to the States, we commercialized it here, and I took him back a copy, and while drinking in his cellar, and when he saw this, he decided, well, he would give me another gift. And it actually says Jon.
It does, and the corkscrew. Very good. Oh.
I actually had it home before I realized it was Jon.
So he snuck that one in on you. Very. So this is a little gift that Alexander Calder gave you towards the end of the Flying Colors of the United States.
Yes, but the Bicentennial, very successful, but this was at the beginning. We had just announced his Bicentennial flying colors of the United States, and the man broke with his tradition and sent me this cover, which he had endorsed cleverly, and decided to thank me for the effort involved. This was the man beginning of his relation with Braniff. And when I last worked with him, I worked with him on a Saturday afternoon. I said, "I'll see you Monday." And he said, "No, Monday I go to the Whitney for an all-day of dedication to me. And usually I'm very tired at that end of that day. And I said, then I'll see you Wednesday morning. He said, be there. Wednesday morning, I was on my way back from Dallas, and a terminal officer stopped me and said, sorry, call your office. And he said, Calder's dead. He had come down that morning, the Wednesday morning, after resting all day Tuesday, and had come down from his daughter's apartment, or home in Lower Manhattan, sat down at the breakfast table, didn't pick up the fork. He had died by sitting down. I cannot tell you how shocked I was. But that's the way he did everything, quickly and thoroughly. And I'll remember him as the great old man, not the detail artist, but the colorist.
So during the time you worked for Braniff Airlines, you worked with other designers, including Alexander Gerard, which is how you came across these pieces right here. Do you want to talk a little bit about those?
Yes. Well, we actually had our own staff of Braniff maintenance, and I believe we called it airports at that time. We were into airports worldwide, ticket offices worldwide, and we were actually going mad buying anything and everything from anybody.
And when Braniff ceased operations, you bought this piece at auction. Can you talk a little bit about the significance of this piece?
I knew the coating on the back, because it was, and it had been in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for several years, moving from club to club, to the maintenance area to maintenance area, to sales area. And it was all brought into the local general office, which was a major Braniff place at that time. And of course I knew exactly which coats and they had their would be asking price, and one never gives one the asking price for an item at a bankruptcy. So I bought several.
And so when Alexander Gerard created this piece for Braniff Airlines, where did the airline display it?
He sent this one to replace the Madonna from the first class lounge at Love Field, and these things came from aircraft, but I probably supplied them to Gerard to mount for aircraft. Probably used them in fashion displays in New York or Chicago in runway shows, showing our hostess models.
So you've worked with Calder, Gerard, Pucci, and Halston.
Yeah.